Hey guys, welcome to the Diet Doc Life Mastery Podcast. I'm Joe Klemczewski, the founder of the Diet Doc, here with Dr. Kori Probst, our health psychologist. And she's going to be talking about my favorite topic in the world, junk food.
You are a junkie.
I know you came up with this topic just to probably sneak in a lecture on me here.
I am. Yes, I'm going to tell you why you're just such a bad boy.
All right.
Yeah, so I want to talk about why we have such a problem with junk food. I was riding with my cycling club this past weekend, and one of the guys rode up next to me, and he's like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm good." He's like, "How's business?" I'm like, "Awesome." And he's like, I'd probably be a lot better cyclist if I could just stop eating sugar. And I'm just kind of waiting for him to tell me, he's like, "I have a real problem with syrup." Wasn't what I expected to hear, because in my head I'm thinking chips and candy and junk, baked goods, things like that. And I don't know, that there probably is a lot of that stuff in his diet as well. But all of us know, Joe, that junk food isn't healthy for us. It's actually quite terrible. And that's not a mystery, but I think a lot of people feel this pull to eat it and experience tremendous amounts of craving, right? And it's almost like and I've heard this, and I'm sure you have too, they feel like they have some sort of an addiction, a food addiction. Well, we know that eating a bunch of junk food contributes to things like heart disease, contributes to things like, high blood pressure. Lots of sugar contributes to inflammation in the body, even can create an increase in anxiety, depression. Food affects our moods as well. So there is a physiological response, but there's also a psychological response. I don't think we can necessarily separate them. But it's both behavioral and kind of habit-based. Like the more you eat it, the more you eat it, but also the more that you begin to crave it, and the harder it can become to stop eating it, the more you're eating it. So there's a biological and hormonal response as well to eating a lot of junk and sugar.
I think that's an important part, Kori, at least to understand as a baseline before you get into the behavior is, they have proven that sugar is like cocaine in the dopaminergic reward system. And so you can have an addiction. I know if I'm in a pattern where I'm, for some reason, just eating a lot of sugar, you do have those weird cravings where it's like, wow, maybe I should just put this syrup on my Cheerios or something, when you would never even have that thought before. You're just looking for crappy sugar no matter what it is.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I've felt it myself, and it's why I'm so careful to not even go there. Most of the time, 99% of the time, don't go there, because I hate the way that it feels. I don't want that sense of urgency to eat it. But it's a $1 billion industry. You have professional scientists in the background, concocting these sugar, salt, and fat combinations that are going to make you want more, and that cause a release of what are called orexigenic hormones. But so there are 6 things that these scientists have in mind when they're concocting these junk foods that I think it would be helpful for everyone to kind of know about. But this also speaks to the psychological piece of it as well. So let's look at it from those 2 perspectives: biological, hormonal, and psychological, behavioral. So one of the things that's important is what's called dynamic contrast. This is just fancy word for variety. We like variety. It's why we have so much trouble in buffets, because there is everything out right there for you to choose from. And most of us are probably going to want to taste it all. So when you have the sugar, fat, salt combinations, wow, you're thinking like a crunch wrap from Taco Bell. You know, you have the Oreos, hard cookies on the outside, smooth middle. Pizza, one of people's favorite foods, one of your favorite foods. Why? It's because there's so much variety on one slice. There's the doughy bread, there's the, you know, the gooey cheese, all of those things. The second thing is the salivary response that occurs. So it's like when we go to restaurants, how many meals do you see that include like sauces? And it's the emulsified foods that we like that are super smooth and are creamy, like ice cream and chocolate. There's a reason we crave those. The third one is it's called high density rapid meltdown. Okay, so these are things that like literally melt in your mouth, like Cheetos Puffs. We've all had Cheetos Puffs. You put them in your mouth and they just kind of, and then you want that sensation again. It's called oro sensation. That's what we're craving. The fourth thing is it's a sensory specific response. I think of the slogan, and I can't remember for what chip it is, but it's you can't have just one.
Right,
is that
right.
Pringles or something?
It might be, yeah.
Yeah,
One, yeah.
Can't have just one. Because junk foods are very enticing and interesting to the palate. Okay? Food makers know this. They're not going to make something that you get bored with really fast. It's like, no, I need that flavor again. No, oh, wait, I tasted something in that last one that I want that again. Whether it's the taste, the smell, the texture, the sensation, the mouthfeel, that's what junk food is all about. The fifth thing is just caloric density, right? So it oftentimes, like, how many of us have sat down and eaten the entire bag of chips? Yeah. It takes a while for us to feel full on junk food. And then the sixth thing is just, and this is where the psychological piece really comes in, is memories of past experiences with junk foods we shared with someone, with family members or friends. And when we can go back in time and imagine eating those foods, literally what happens is it causes a craving. It causes not only the thoughts like, ooh, that would be really good right now, but it actually causes us to begin salivating. How many of us have said, oh, just thinking of that makes my mouth water? Or you smell something and it conjures a memory and now your mouth is watering. So there are all these factors coming into play. And so I think we need to get away from I'm just weak and I can't get over this and there's something wrong with me. There are more things to consider than you just being a broken individual. So Joe, I mean, you probably have clients who have come to you and complained about things like this. Yes?
Yeah, I just had a conversation with one yesterday, and as you're describing this, it makes me, again, contemplate the value of knowledge and just, you know, we involve our neocortex when we say things like, oh, wow, I remember Kori saying, you know, it's the crunch or it's the contrast or it's this or that. So now, as that triggers a memory, I can step back and process that and say, well, I don't have to go through with that behavior because I know that's instinctual and biological. And now I'm going to elevate myself above that and just choose differently. But it really does start with that beginning piece of knowledge.
It does. Absolutely. Here are the facts. It's not just me, and because I have a problem with junk. I think some people like it more than others, but again, it's that knowledge and behavioral component. Am I willing to choose something different in this case? There's a reason, Joe, that I love what I call my kitchen sink salads. My salads, like, let's go to the variety. Why do I love them? Because they have hot things in them. They have cold things in them. They have crunchy things in them. They have smooth things in them. I throw so many different healthy, varieties of vegetables and things into my salad. And I'm like, I have made that healthy meal so darn interesting that I want to eat that, not a junk.
So I thought you were going to say it's as big as the kitchen sink, or you just eat it right out of the kitchen sink.
That would be gross. Probably a little unsanitary.
No, you're right. So
it's as big as the kitchen sink usually.
Yeah, I had a salad last night in a restaurant, and you're exactly right. So many different tastes and textures, make it way better than just something that you might throw in a bowl at home just with iceberg lettuce or, some kind of a spring mix.
Totally. Yeah, I am usually using like 3 different types of lettuces and arugula. And then, I say smooth, like I love beets. And then there's the chewy texture of the protein and then there's the steamed broccoli. So now I'm adding a temperature difference too. But so that's one thing that I think people can begin considering. If variety is something that we like and it's mouthfeel and texture and different tastes, how could we kind of flip that on its head, but eat that way, but with healthy items? Right? The other thing too is the less you eat it, the less you will crave it. And we all know this from the habit literature. Like, if you want to stop eating as much junk, stop buying the junk, stop having it around, stop going places that cue you in certain ways to go eat it. Is it work? Of course it is. But you're going to have to, you're working hard to go find the junk to begin with. So where do you want to spend your energy is how I look at it. And then the third thing, Joe, that I would recommend to people is to begin to develop a new relationship with what you define as stress. Because from my work, and with what a lot of my clients have said, is it's in those, air quotes right now, guys, stressful situations, anxiety, worry sort of situations where they feel more of a pull towards it, and those cravings begin to amplify. And, there are real biological reasons for that too. In those times, we're using typically a lot more energy. Our blood sugar may go down a little bit after it elevates, and so then we're actually needing some calories. But all of these things I think are really important to understand, play into it, and there are very specific things that we can do to help ourselves without going into I'm weak and I'm bad and I'm addicted and I can't figure this out.
Yeah, I want to link the two things. When I mentioned dopamine and how studies show sugar is as powerful as cocaine in its addictive value, then what you just said about cortisol and stress, as soon as your body is dumping cortisol, your adrenal glands are just on fire. You do start expressing glucose and glycogen and triglycerides out of those storage areas in your body. And so your brain does get triggered to start replacing them because, as you said, you're getting into that fight, flight, or freeze mode, which is, I might need to take action here. And it's all just due to stress. You could be sitting still in your chair, but as soon as that stress kicks in, you're going to start feeling those cravings.
So it is, I think, in moments like that, just learning to understand the cues for that of yourself and then begin to redefine it for yourself as well. And that's a whole nother issue. But yeah, that's a very good point, Joe.
All right, so I am duly spanked by Dr. Probst, but contrary to what I might say once in a while, I really do have a kind of a rule book with my own levels and amounts of junk food that I eat. And I hope you guys do too. This is just one segment of a pretty big topic. And I appreciate you, Kori, bringing this up and labeling all those steps for us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys. Kori and I are going to be converging in Nashville this weekend for a new program owner training for the Diet Doc, and we're going to be broadcasting part of that out. Adam Martin, a pharmacist who's also a Diet Doc program owner, is going to be part of our curriculum this weekend, and he's going to be live streaming a portion of his section, which is on using social media properly. So we're going to put out some information for you guys to check that out, and we hope that we'll maybe have a little engagement with you even over the weekend. So in the meantime, stay tuned, and we're going to have a couple more podcasts and jump into some new areas.
Thanks, guys.